Welcome back to the Poke Historian. I'm your host, Matt X. This is the show where sometimes I just talk into a camera and talk with you about my feelings relating to the Pokemon market. I don't really have any particular topics of discussion I want to bring up tonight. I just kind of want to talk about where we are and how we've gotten here. We're about halfway through this year, so I thought it'd be good to do a little recap and just kind of do a little reflection on all the events that have happened. So, if we go back to January of this year, the Pokemon market was already off to a jump start. Surging Sparks was in full swing. It hadn't gotten to the point where you couldn't find it anywhere. I was still finding it in stores on occasion, but it was definitely getting more challenging. And we had Prismatic Evolutions come out in January, and boy, that set really took the Pokemon world by storm. Still don't care for that set. Still don't think it's that great. For those of you who enjoy it, wonderful, but like some evolutions with crowns on their heads doesn't do a whole lot for me. But regardless of whatever I think, people loved that set. It was a huge success. Very, very difficult to find. Still is very difficult to find. I haven't seen any Prismatic Evolutions in stores since I originally got some on release day over at Target. And that was interesting. Looking back, just seeing all those people waiting in line just to get the newest set. I don't think I'd ever experienced that before with Pokemon. I know it probably happened with certain sets like the 25th anniversary set, but I wasn't actually there to get that. A friend of mine was able to get that set for me when it came out. So that was interesting to see. And then we went on for months and months of Prismatic Evolution cards just rocketing up. And of course, all the Scarlet and Violet cards just rocketing up, and so many people jumping into the market. It was quite the time to just watch that. It seemed like every week there was something new going on, whether, it was Bubble Mew reaching a new high price, or we had the Drowsy. Remember that card went up to like $80, and of course now it's crashed back down. But like, it felt like for a while there, like at least like in the waning months of the winter and the early spring, it's like there was always like a new story about just how all these cards were just going crazy. Then I remember we started hearing more about Journey Together, and of course that became a big deal. I remember I was actually able to get a booster box secured over there at GameStop, which was great, and I also got an Elite Trainer box, and that was wonderful. I pre-ordered, was able to get it, but after that, GameStop decided they weren't doing any more pre-orders for Pokemon cards, so that was crazy. I remember everybody wanted Journey Together. And then the set came out and people just kind of like cooled off on it. And everyone realized it wasn't just that wild of a set. I still think it's a really good set, but a lot of people kind of like calmed down with it and just realized that like, it's just a decent Pokemon set. Nothing too crazy there, but people still kept buying up the cards. And of course, singles market was still going crazy. But I'd say it was around that time of Journey Together, like I made a video about this. And of course, it's held to be true, and now it's really, really going. But I was talking about at that time how the vintage market was actually doing really well, and things were selling like hotcakes, and nobody was paying attention to it. And now, lo and behold, everybody knows about it. All the big, more well-known YouTubers are doing videos about how vintage is doing well, and I've been tracking some of my favorite cards, and it's astounding, absolutely astounding to see some of the prices these cards are hitting. Like prices some of these cards didn't even hit during the pandemic, so that's been wild to watch. And of course, with the rise of vintage, of course, we've seen a lot of the Scarlet and Violet cards taper off, and that started happening, I guess, around May, right? Like very early May, maybe even like late April. They all kind of started going down a little bit. Of course, a lot of them still haven't gone down to where they were before this whole Pokemon market boom took off, but a lot of them have definitely seen a retrace. And now that they've actually been in the retrace for long enough, some of these cards are actually starting to go back up. Like the Paldea Evolved Magikarp card, that one's starting to go back up again, and some of the other ones are too. So that's been kind of interesting to see. Of course, a lot of the Prismatic Evolutions cards are still tanking, and I guess that makes sense because they were just so ridiculously high that, of course, like they're gonna have to go down a little bit. I mean, as more supply hits the market, like you can't have like $400 cards in a set like that. Like it just doesn't happen, and Pokemon's really been doing the best they can to put a lot more Prismatic Evolutions out there. Still very hard to find, but definitely has helped the single markets a good bit. Then I went to Collecticon this year. That was pretty cool. I noticed my takeaway from Collecticon is there weren't really a lot of good deals this year. Everybody knows what they got, and there weren't a lot of people that were desperately trying to like offload. That's at least not that I saw. So, but regardless of that, I still was able to pick up some pretty cool cards. And then right after that, had old Destin Rivals come out. That was, it was funny leading up to that set. Like everyone was super hyped for it. Remember the booster boxes were pre-ordering for like $400 or something, and then as we got closer to release date and like some of the cards started being spoiled, all of a sudden a large group of people were like, well, I'm not really into that. This isn't what I want. I was hoping for something better. Like where's all my dark Pokemon? Where's my Team Rocket's Blastoise, Team Rocket's Dragonite, like all those old big hitters that we've seen before in Team Rocket Returns and of course the original Team Rocket set. So a lot of people kind of like, it's interesting. Like obviously Destin Rivals still came out like at a pretty high price, but like the hype for it definitely like got just sucked out like before the set actually came out. It just was like a vacuum. Just a lot of people just kind of lost interest in it. So the booster boxes went from like 400 to around like 250, and that's what I picked them up for. And set came out, still very popular. Excuse me, I don't think it was as popular as Prismatic when it came out, but it was still doing pretty well. Very hard to find in stores. I certainly didn't find any on stores on release day. I had my 2 booster boxes I got from Game Nerds. Of course, both were damaged, and I ended up opening them. And that was fun, though. Pulled a Garchomp, pulled some other illustration rares, so I guess, certain things work out like that, right? And then I found Destin Rivals in stores like one time, like 3 weeks ago. I was able to buy 2 individual booster packs at Walmart. That's all they let me have. So, interesting thing about Destin Rivals though is like, even though it came out like when like a lot of the Pokemon cards in Scarlet and Violet were still like tapering off and going down, like if you check out a lot of the chase cards for that set now, like a lot of them are doing pretty good. Like the Garchomp is now higher than it was at release, and so was like the Mewtwo. So like that's fascinating to see. Even though a lot of the Scarlet and Violet like cards, I guess you'd say like the lesser illustration rares and some of the special illustration rares that are popular too have like gone down a good bit. Like Destin Rivals is standing strong. Like a lot of the chase cards from that set are holding up, which is interesting to see in this time with so many of the Scarlet and Violet cards going down. But yeah, it's been a better set that I think that people thought. And the other thing I want to touch on with Destin Rivals too was the booster boxes. Like, they came out around 250 and like they're holding firm there. Like they're, even though time goes on, like so far people are not tired of that set. Like it seems like it's going to be a big seller, and I'm kind of wondering, I'll be curious to see how things go like later this year, but like I'm kind of thinking that like these Destin Rivals booster boxes like aren't going to change that much. Maybe they retrace like $10, $20, $30 or something like that, but it seems like the set came out, it was super hyped, then everyone like kind of like got burned out on it, was like, oh, it's not what I was hoping for. But then it's like people started actually opening it again. It's like they were thinking, okay, this actually is like a pretty decent set. It's not exactly, it didn't meet my crazy expectations that I set, but it still is a pretty good set, and it could be the best set of the Scarlet and Violet generation, at least in my opinion. So people are buying it up, and we're not really seeing those booster box prices waver at all, which $250 is still a lot for a booster box, but I don't know if it's going to get much cheaper than that, and this is a very, very popular set. So like I said, I'll be curious just to kind of see how that goes. So I think that pretty much covers everything and where we're at and how we've gotten here. But kind of long story short, we're about to go into July tomorrow, and the Pokemon market is cooled off, at least in the singles. However, some of the Scarlet and Violet big chase cards are recovering. Destin Rivals is doing very well. Vintage Pokemon cards are doing very well. Oh, one more thing I wanted to touch on. Of course, I guess this kind of goes along with, I think there's maybe some sort of connection to Black Bolt and White Flare, but maybe not as close as I was just thinking. But obviously, like another big point right now that's been kind of going around the community, a big talking point, is how much the Sun and Moon cards are taking off, particularly these tag team cards. Like, they have just been rocketing, absolutely rocketing. It's cards that were just sitting at $20-$30 for years. I mean, some of them are like over $100, $200, $300. Like, it's crazy. I think of like the Gengar card, of course, from Team Up, like just the regular full art done by Mitsuhiro Arita. I mean, that one is just insanely expensive now. I remember buying that not this January, but January 2024. I bought that card for like $30, and like now it's north of 200. The Arceus, Dialga, and Palkia GX from Cosmic Eclipse, like the alt art, that one's been doing really well. And even some of like the lesser known like tag team cards, just like the regular Mitsuhiro Arita arts, those have been just doing fantastic. And the promos too, like all these like tag team promos have been crazy, like the Umbreon and Darkrai, the Charizard, what was it? Yeah, it's the Charizard and Braixen, like that one's been doing pretty well. Is it the Charizard and Braixen? Maybe I'm thinking the Charizard and Reshiram. I don't know. But yeah, a lot of the promos have been doing very well too. It's wild to see. Like usually you don't see the promos like go up that high and that quickly. Oh, also the Mewtwo and Mew GX card promo. That one's been. Whew. Oh, and the 3 birds, the 3 stained glass birds from Hidden Fates. Man, that card was so cheap for so long, and now it's just gone up in space. So I guess that goes along a little bit with like the whole like vintage boom, but like, you know, Sun and Moon is weird. It's not quite vintage. It's like somewhere in between. But long story short, yeah, that's where we're at. It's been kind of an it's been a very interesting year for Pokemon. I'm curious to see where we go these next 6 months. Of course, Black Bolt and White Flares can be pretty big. Have to see how I'm doing. I feel like I've spent a lot of money lately, so I may not be picking up a whole bunch of that, but I'll probably end up getting some of the cards. And then we got the Mega Evolutions coming out to go along with Pokemon Legends ZA, which is going to be a really sick game, something tells me. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Oh, while we're just talking about TCGs too, we'll just talk about Magic real quick for a second, because why not? And obviously the big event of this year was the release of the Final Fantasy Magic the Gathering set. Of course, that's just gone bonkers. And I'm not going to lie, y'all, like I'm not super into Magic anymore. Like I used to play a lot like when I was like younger, like in school and stuff. But I still enjoy like collecting some of the cards. But man, like that Final Fantasy set, that might be my favorite TCG set of the year right there. Like such unbelievable arts. Like the booster boxes look really cool. The collector booster boxes look really cool. The decks are sick. Like so much good going on with that. So if you have any interest in those, I would say that that's not a bad item to pick up. And if you want to open some of that, like I think you'll probably have a good time, especially if you're familiar with Final Fantasy. Anyways, that's enough of me rambling. Thanks for watching. We'll talk soon. Bye.